One of the most damaging things you could do to a child is alienate that child from their parent. And this is so common in our culture. In fact, in our culture, it is almost supported by PC culture, by people who just don't know, by feminist culture, by all these different things. And then on the flip side, there's not a lot of good information on how to properly handle this. I want to talk to you today about some of the grievances so many men have about parental alienation, but more importantly, how we can solve it. How do we solve it long term? How do we solve it legally? And the most important thing here is how do we solve it for our children's lives who are going to be dramatically affected by this for the rest of their life. The very first thing you need to understand about parental alienation is that it is child abuse. It is not a custodial dispute. It's not baby mama drama. It's not gossip in between families. It is the abuse of a child. Now, social workers, judges, the court systems don't immediately see it as that, which doesn't mean that they won't see it as that. It means that it's very hard to see, and there's not a lot of cases that now show it. This does not mean that you get to give up as a parent and stop fighting for it. This means you have to fight smarter, know the game, understand the court system, and get as much information as you can to stop it. Because it is child abuse, it has to be stopped immediately. It has to be acted upon immediately. The way we have to act upon it is legally, and this, like I said, is hard because not a lot of courts recognize this. Social workers, CPS workers, guardian ad litems, and so on. The other thing too is if we just come out with hysteria and start yelling and screaming and getting really angry, gossiping with friends, leaving crappy comments on YouTube and TikTok, leaving messages to our ex and so on, this is also not going to change it. What is going to change it is a legal solution, your ability to eventually parent or co-parent, and your ability to be strong and lead your kids to safety. They really need you right now if you're going through this. I get it. The court systems suck. They're unfair. They totally screw you. There's so much against you and there's so much confusing, but let's calm down and let's learn it. Now, one of the reasons why I'm making this video is because of my good friend, Josh Powless. Josh Powless has been in my groups for a year and a half. He's an amazing person. He's a dad that learned how this works. And not only did he learn how this works, he started a podcast, which is amazing. And if you are a parent that is looking to win your court case, get some resources, it's mainly for men, but really anybody could find benefit from it. It is the Father of Valor podcast. I'm going to leave a link here of one of the podcasts, and I'm going to put a link down below. I'm going to tell you right now, there are not a lot of resources for men in this. And this is one of them. This is one of the good guys. I can't tell you how much bad information there is, especially on parental alienation. Josh is one of the good resources. If this is a problem for you, put a pause on my video. You can come back to it and watch it. I really appreciate it. And go to Josh's video. Subscribe to his channel. Get on his TikTok. Get on his Instagram. Send him a message. He's an amazing guy and an amazing resource. Now, another one of the reasons why I'm making this video is this is a huge thing in my groups in the Rising Man. Guys go through this and they have to fight it, and it is really an uphill battle. Now, one of the best resources that has helped men guide their case, understand the importance of this case, find a lawyer who will represent you, and how to get this taken care of in the courts, which is really where you are going to stop it, is they got this book. It is called Litigating Parental Alienation. It is by Joshi, and it is expensive. However, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a guy and you're thinking that the court systems are against you, it's impossible to win, you have no way of finding the right answers, and you're hearing all these different stories of how men get screwed and you're convinced of it, you need to stop that. You cannot give up on your kids, and you can win this legally. You have to find the right resources. I get it. There's a whole bunch of guys who accept that being a victim is okay. Look, we're all victims, but you have to fight, and you have to fight even if you're going to lose. But if you're going to fight, let's fight in the right way. I'm going to tell you right now, for guys in my group that come to me at the point of their separation, they do not lose. You can absolutely win your court case. However, the majority of men have already gone to a temporary orders hearing. They've done multiple mediations. They've gone in unrepresented. And when you start out in a legal case where you're already behind, it's really hard to undo mistakes that happen. Just don't let yourself get in that situation. The other thing too I'll say about this book is that 2 of the members of my group have actually consulted with the author, Joshi, and they say it was worth the weight in gold. It was just one of the best things that they could do. They did the consultations with their attorneys, and man, it helps their attorneys see how to structure the case, to work it, the different strategies, the angles, and legitimately how much of a problem this is. Now, I'm talking about this now, but I'm going to tell you right now. Remember, just a few minutes ago, I said go to the Father of Valor podcast where Josh Powless has started it. He knows far more about all this stuff than I, and he could really, really help you out. So one of the things that you're going to need to do if you go the legal route to fight parental alienation, and let me tell you, you're really not going to go the gossip route, the trash talking route, the ruining one's reputation route, because that's all the tactics that are being done to you, and that could get you into trouble. Especially if you're a man doing that, it's going to be seen by the courts as illegal, and you're gonna maybe possibly put yourself behind bars. I get that it sucks that women can get away with this much more, but that does not mean that you can't win. I really need you to understand this. One of the first things that you need to do is to find an attorney that will represent you on this. Now, many attorneys are going to think that this is just some sort of custodial dispute or 2 parents angry in a divorce and custody battle. So what do you need to do to prove that alienation has happened? Parental alienation is something that is a form of psychological abuse. It's not physical abuse, it's not hitting somebody, it's not doing drugs around kids or driving while intoxicated with the kids in the car. It's something where oftentimes a mother, and fathers do this too, but one parent is keeping the kids from another parent, and they usually do this thing where they think because they've convinced those kids to love them more, to side with them, to just forget about the other parent, that they think they're being a good parent. You hear this all the time. I'm a really, really good mother, which is one of the red flags that we need to start seeing in society. Is when single moms say that, it doesn't always mean that they are a good mother. And let me just define this, because this happens all the time in our groups. You can be a good mother and take your kids to the doctor. You can be a good mother and care for your children. They can love you. They can feel loved. But it is still child abuse if you actively keep another parent, their father, away from them. It is also child abuse if you convince that child that that parent doesn't love them or care about them or has somehow abandoned them. It is also child abuse if you sabotage that parent's role in your kid's life because you have control of your kid's life. And then when that parent is introduced at the limited time he, the father, is allowed to see his child, can't fully be there, that is also child abuse. And this is the real point that you need to understand with parental alienation. I get that it sucks for you. I get that it is painful for you. I get that somebody else is lying and manipulating friends and family to make you look bad. But the real argument here that is going to win it for you in the courts is to prove that it is abuse, that it is parental alienation. Okay, so back to defining this. We need to be able to define it legally. We need to be able to define that this parent is actively keeping the kids away from you. This could be done with text messages, this could be done with emails, this could be done with things that are very common, like showing up for your court-ordered visitation, or perhaps you don't have a court order in place yet, but a visitation that's agreed upon and it is canceled, or they don't show up at all. You are not able to see them. This could also be shown by a history of false abuse claims. This could be domestic violence claims, this could be sexual abuse claims, this could be child abuse claims, and so on, but these are done to keep you from seeing your child. Oftentimes, these are done from parent to parent, and CPS or the police are not yet involved. You need to be able to keep a track record of that. So there should be proof, like written proof, not just witness testimony. There should be a timeline of it. These could be things as simple as, you didn't know how to take care of the baby, so-and-so is sick and you don't know how to take care of them. Last time you took care of them, you put them in danger, so I'm not going to let you see them. When you approach an attorney with this to prove this psychological disorder, this form of abuse, of parental alienation, you need to be able to show a history of that, a motive in that, a consistency in that, so much to the point where you will need the courts to step in to stop it. And if it is real parental alienation, if you really have a woman who is doing this and convinced that she is doing what's in the best interest of her children, you need to stop it immediately. If you don't stop it, what is bound to continue and continue quick is going to be false accusations that do involve the law. Now, there's protecting yourself from false accusations, which can be done easily if you stop it right away. And of course, if you prevent it, it's even easier. But if you don't do anything about it, you don't know what to do, and you react in the wrong ways, it's real easy to get caught up in it. So if false accusations go into CPS or DSFS, the police get involved in any sort of way, that could mean that the courts then get involved and you temporarily cannot see your child for 2 months, 6 months, hopefully not 2 years. Once anything comes into play where there is some temporary protective order put into play, man, you are going majorly uphill. You want to prevent that. This is why it's so important to stop parental alienation immediately. The SD card fails, countless things fail. Doing videos is not always fun, but I can do a better look with a different lens. Or maybe it's not better. When we can start understanding that parental alienation is a form of abuse, we should start taking it that seriously. And that doesn't mean that we can take that to arguments online and just getting mad at one another because it is abuse. It means that we need to start handling it like abuse, meaning it has to stop no matter how hard it is. Now, one of the biggest problems for this is the court systems. They are not recognizing it as abuse or as parental alienation. It's hard to prove. What this means is a lot of judges and attorneys are unwilling to see it as alienation. The attorneys may not take the case or try and talk you out of it. There's also a huge population of men and women where parental alienation isn't happening, but they're trying to convince the other that it is just because they're pissed off at the other party and they're not able to control and manage those different emotions. This is a big problem. So we need to really prove it. We need to start understanding how the court works. How we change laws in our country, especially for men that disadvantage men with divorce and custody, are going to be around us winning our cases, which means we need to learn how to do it and not just complain about it, but also lobbying legislature. This is really, really difficult. But they don't come from us bitching and complaining about stuff. That sort of hysteria is not going to help this situation. Now, a lot of men will say they did everything they could to win, but I can almost guarantee you that there were some mistakes in there. At this point in my groups, I've looked over all sorts of cases where there have been failures, there have been winnings, and here's a couple things. If you start off correct, you usually win. Starting off correct means you start your case right away at the moment of separation. You also need to learn how to pick lawyers or switch lawyers. Even if you have the best lawyer in the world, you need to work the case with them and start understanding the law. They're going to overlook things. They're inundated by tons of different stuff. They're used to parents being hysterical and ridiculous and breathing down their throat and all this different sort of thing. And so you need to start being the parent that actively solves the case, isn't dramatic, and doesn't waste their time. You do this by learning about the law. This is how me and the guys in my group have learned so much. And this brings me to perhaps the most important thing in this. If you are somebody who has been a victim of parental alienation, you're not the only victim in this. Your children are the biggest victims in this, and they are going to suffer in huge ways. Some may not show it right away. They might acclimate really well and be really social and be really responsible and all these different things. But if you have a parent lie and manipulate you to dislike or see poorly the other parent and restrict time or cut time completely out of that other parent, and also if there have been false accusations, false claims, that child is going to be affected. The most important thing for that child is to experience a stable home, a stable father. And this is really important to understand, especially coming from a men's group that has led so many men down this road for years and years and years and years, and seeing kids grow up with this same situation and grow up healthy and unhealthy. It's real easy to see the difference. And one of those differences is that if you want those kids to be better off, if you want them to acclimate well when there has been an abusive parent on the other side, You need to give them stability. You also need to not fight your wars in front of them. This means you don't talk trash on the mom. You don't tell the truth about what happens. You give them stability as a father. You show them that you can still be strong without resorting to gossip or blame or petty games of getting one party to hate the other. You show them that strength and the highest form of masculinity and fatherhood can still be achieved when painful moments come in front of them. You understand that vision and focus isn't moved and changed course just because some dramatic thing happened. You learn to set a plan and follow the plan. There is a huge amount to this, but this is literally the most important part. I understand that most of you are coming to learn about the legal game, and you should, but fatherhood is huge, and being a father in this is massive. I had to reintegrate with my kids after not seeing them for 5 years, and I had to do so in a way which took into account the whole situation, not just convincing them who was right and wrong right away. Years and years and years down the road, maybe they will ask you for the truth, and you can tell them. But when they already have one parent being really dramatic to them, they don't need the other one to do the same thing. Don't buy into the game being played. To you men that are watching this out there that want to become better men, better fathers, to be a part of a group with other fathers and other men that live in this way, and it's not just with winning your court case, it's really about living your best life, creating the most amount of wealth, gaining wisdom, having vision, living a life with true integrity. This is what the Rising Man is. My online groups have existed for 15 years. There are generations of kids that are raised by men in my groups. We're loyal, we're 24/7, and we're going to help you out in some of the most fundamental ways that you can imagine, especially if you are going through a divorce and a custody case. It's going to save you thousands of dollars. And of course, if you like this video, well, check the links down below. I put a link to the Father of Valor, Josh Powless's channel, as well as the link to the book that most of the guys in my group recommend to help them out with parental alienation. I also have many other videos on this channel to help you out with divorce and custody, as well as videos on men's development. And if you're into that sort of thing, well, look right here. Masculinity in this modern world has many disadvantages against it, but this doesn't mean that we can't find strength, power, fortitude, and be great fathers when faced with massive disadvantage. Take it easy.